What's up, everyone? Got a special surprise for you guys today. I am driving to my buddy Ralph Doc Holliday's house, and I'm excited to reconnect with him because when I was coming up as a young aspiring fisherman, he was one of my local heroes that I really looked up to. I mean, he was in the local Western Outdoor newspaper, it seemed like almost every week during big fish season, you know, from the winter months on through the spring. And he fished many of the LA area lakes and was one of the first guys that I actually got to meet and interact with on a one-on-one level in person as a young angler that was actually successfully catching giant bass. And you know, you guys got to remember, back in the 90s there was a culture of live bait fishing for these giant trophy bass. So he'd come into the Turner's Outdoorsman and literally clean out the entire live bait bin and buy every single crawdad that they had. But also, he was also a very accomplished swimbait fisherman. And he started with, I mean, some of the old school stuff like the Worm King Dinosaur. And, you know, but his bread and butter was the stalker trout. And that man did damage with that bad boy. And he had access to some of the, I think most of the time he was fishing the 10-inch. And he actually had a couple of unique 12-inch baits that the Digpin brothers hooked him up with that were impossible for the rest of us to find. But anyway, you know, the way he carried himself, his humility, and the way he just exuded class really stuck with me as a kid. Not completely, obviously, but he was a good person for me to look up to. And I know he hasn't been fishing as much as he used to back in the day, but man, he used to roll up to the lake, you know, with the pimped out big old truck that matched his black and teal Champion. He made it look good back then. You know, he fished all the proper gear. So excited to touch base and really just kind of dive into it with him like I used to when I was a young kid. So stay tuned. Hope you guys enjoy it, because I know I will. The man himself. Doing all right, brother. How you doing?
Good.
We are live.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, bud. Good to see you.
Good to see you, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
How are things?
I'm good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Got you.
Still hanging in there.
Got you a little present.
Oh, you did? Appreciate that.
Hopefully that'll motivate you to get back out there with me.
Get back out in the water, huh?
Yeah, slide her out.
Fish. Oh, yeah. There we go. I could have used this at Havasu, huh?
Oh, yeah. How was that?
It was a good trip. I didn't get no big fish, but that's a good bait, man.
You think that'll fool one or two?
Oh, yeah, because I think the fish was eating those gizzard shad.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, in fact, I didn't have nothing that color besides my old Optimus.
Oh, right.
I used to have, that's the closest thing I had, but I don't have the smaller one, the size of them. So I did throw big baits, but I never got bit on them, so I downsized, and I'll show you pictures.
Awesome.
We got a lot of pictures, but
I
they're
love
all
it.
small fish, you know.
Oh, man.
And then I had another bait that I got, and I didn't think about it until next day I was going to try it. The wind was so high, we couldn't. Yeah, so they didn't want to chance it. So we came home Wednesday, and I've been thinking about it ever since. You know?
Trying to get back out there,
I'm like, oh my God. And the thing about it, the fish was there. You know, big fish was around.
Were you fishing largemouth, stripers?
I was fishing stripers. I got one nice large, smallmouth.
Oh, nice.
Over 5 pounds.
No kidding.
Oh, yeah.
That's a giant.
Fish. Oh, yeah. So it's guys like a friend that lived there.
Okay.
He retired and moved there 4 or 5 years ago. said, Doc, I can't believe this. I've been living here for 5 years. I haven't got one. You show up on one trip
there it is.
and get one.
It's because you got the juice, brother.
Oh,
you always have, man. You always have.
Yeah, got lucky. Thank you, man.
Oh, you're very
I
welcome.
was in the process of trying to find some stuff.
Oh, sweet. I'm sure there's no shortage of it.
Yeah, water pools and stuff. So.
I mean, look at that. I mean, just.
Oh, yeah.
It's everywhere.
My sister, Barbara, my wife, she's got a couple, 9, 10, 11.
Look at
Brother-in-law, 9.
It's a family affair.
Yeah, Barbara, we got a, what is that, 12 and a half,
My goodness.
10. My friend we did, that was like 888s up there when he came out. He's in South Dakota.
Okay.
12 and,
There.
yeah,
Gosh. Those are awesome.
yeah. Oh, Casitas on. Even the lake map of Casitas. I don't know if you can see it up there. And they, I don't know why they posted. They posted some pictures of hauling fish there.
It's because you're the man, that's why.
Yeah, they sure
That's
did.
great, man. Look at it. See if there's that Western Outdoor News that you are always up on.
Oh yeah, that's the pyramid trips when I started there.
That's awesome. Another big fat pig. Gosh, I remember the last time the water was up that high.
I know, I'm right outside of the launch ramp. Before I go home, I might as well try that spot. You know, cannon chains right there.
Oh, jeez. Gotta love it.
I was trying to get up here in this locker I got. I'll bet you're gonna laugh at when I was thrown back in the
Oh, I wouldn't. I'm not gonna laugh. That's why we're here. We want to see all that stuff. This is a walk down history, you know, memory lane for a lot of people that. Oh yeah, bring that down.
Come on. This one.
Oh yeah, those are the goods right there. I love it.
Both of these right here.
All right, Doc, take me back to the very first big bait of your career.
Yeah, this here's the Worm King. This is what started it up there at Casitas. The one that I started with. It was other baits, but most of them was surface baits. This is a subsurface bait. A lot of people didn't want to fish it because you get hung up, you lose them. And also too, larger fish that's down deep, they was much quality, much better fish to get. And
that's a big bait.
That's a big bait. And
what is that, 10, 11 inches?
No, this
maybe
is
12?
It's a 12-inch bait.
Wow.
And then, of course, the smaller ones.
Mm-hmm.
This here is a nice 9-inch. This is what most people throw, and I was throwing too when I got tired of throwing this. But out of the gate, I always start with the bigger bait.
I like it.
You want to get a bigger fish on it. Bigger fish not going to chase as much, so they're going to go for a big meal. We all know that. Then during the day, they will eat this bait. You could throw it right up in the brush. Now this one, you could also trap it, because a lot of times they're going to come and eat the bait. They spit it, but I'll put a trap hook under here, and I got a lot of my fish like that.
On the belly, huh?
Yeah, but
nice.
Mostly this is the one I had to trap.
Wow. Yeah, I can see that.
Because there's so much rubber, and then because most of the fish, they're going to eat it head first if they come to eat it. A lot of times the big fish, you're going to see them, they try to eat it, and you lose fish, and you wonder what happened.
Mm-hmm.
It get balled in their mouth, and you can't get the hook in it. And then bite marks will be all over. You know, you can see like this one right here across the top. You know, it barely where it missed the hook at.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I went to trap hooks. And then you wonder, wow, I should have had the smaller bait on when I got that bite.
Right.
Okay, and then you're switching around, and of course you got 4 or 5 rods tied with all different sizes on. You know.
That's amazing. And what year is this going down in? Like what?
That was the early 90s. You're talking 91, 92.
Wow.
Yeah. You know, I got on the tail end of it. Well, I wouldn't say tail end of it, but I wouldn't.
Oh, that first wave maybe, huh?
Yeah, I would say because I was fishing Paris Lake, other lake, Vale Lake, and a friend of mine, Greg Gardini from South Dakota, when he was here, the doctor, the way you fish, I think you should try Casitas Lake. And I went with him, and I looked over the lake, and they was worm fishing.
Okay.
And worm fishing didn't do it for me because I was seeing these guys catching these big fish. So I left all my worms, everything behind except big baits, Worm King.
You committed.
I committed to it. And Barbara and I, she sit there and watched me throw. all day long looking for one bite.
How many trips did you go before you got your first bite on
It had to
that
be
big boy right there?
at least about 7 trips. before I
Wow.
got
So even back then, you're taking it back to 91, these fish really aren't seeing big baits
They
yet,
wasn't
right?
seeing big baits yet.
See, people kind of have this crazy idea like, oh man, I missed the golden era, right? It was easy back then. It was easier. Like, man, I don't know. I've been around long enough to know that that's not the case.
No, it wasn't easy. It was plentiful at that particular lake.
Gotcha.
These baits would work at any lake that they stopped trout or had big shad in.
Okay. Some kind of big prey item.
Yeah, they would eat it. It's just nobody was committed, and no one had the confidence to do it.
Oh, absolutely not.
I didn't either. I didn't have it, but it was just that one thing. I wanted to get a big fish on swim bait, and I saw it was happening, but you have to make a commitment on it. And it's just like fishing any other lake. You go to the other lake and you're going to fish, you want to get fish, and you're seeing people catch fish. What are they doing? Fishing worms, crankbaits, all of this stuff.
They just want to get bit.
Yeah, so I get up there, I want to get a big fish, and I know they're there. I see them chasing trout, watching all this going on, and then I just happened to pick the right spot. And Barbara and I was sitting there. She watched me go point hopping, and then I just happened to hit this one channel. It was about 30 feet. Wind blew me up close, so I just sunk the bait out, worked it uphill.
Okay.
Got bit.
No kidding.
I started fishing that way from that year on.
Fishing uphill.
I fished shallow. I would start getting smaller fish. I was getting 5, 6, 7 pounders.
Yeah.
I turn around, say January through April, throw out, working uphill, this thing was getting big fish out there.
Wow.
Those bigger fish were sitting on the outside.
Yeah.
They move up because they was coming in to spawn. So the staging fish is always before that March, before they do that spawn.
Gotcha.
But this bait, it was heck to throw. I didn't know what rod, line.
I was going to ask you, I mean, what does that thing weigh right here?
Yeah, probably around 7, 8 ounces.
Yeah, that's a lot of plastic.
Yeah,
and 91, there's
but
absolutely...
I was throwing a rod from Bass Pro Shop.
No kidding. So maybe a muskie or a catfish rod or something?
It was
or
actually called a bionic blade.
I remember those things.
Yeah, the heaviest it's got, and then it like a noodle.
Oh,
and
yeah.
By the time you got it, it's always bent like you got fish on. And then finally, I got hooked. I said, I got to go to something else. And that's when I went to muskie rod.
Okay.
Yeah, so I went to the muskie rod. My friend out of Minnesota, he turned me on to that. And then finally, when all of the G Loomis stuff come out, I got those still over there. And a lot of the rods I had, I done sold them to guys from work. Every one of them wanted a rod.
Wow.
So I sold all of those, and I was replenished by G Loomis. They did an article years back, and I went out with a equipment testing, and after that they saw the articles and stuff, and they donated me a lot of swim bait rods.
Absolutely, man. Well deserved.
Yeah, but before that, after the muskie rod, I got the G Loomis, but it was the shorter versions. And
Okay.
it was easy to throw, and also too, it was a good hookup on it. But once these longer rods came out, it was perfect all around, even for heavier baits. Because
So tell me some of the struggles you had with those early rods, like that bionic rod that wasn't built for this style of fishing.
You could not set the hook on a big fish, because the fish inhale it, but a lot of big fish will, even on these baits here, will bite down and hold it.
Oh, they got a strong grip.
Yeah, they got a strong grip, because if you fish the fish, you pick it up, and you know yourself, they could clamp down on your hand.
Yep.
But so you imagine what they do to one of these baits.
Plus you're using big saltwater style hooks.
Yeah, and
bigger points and barbs.
And also too, the farther you're out with mono, it's harder to sink a hook.
Yeah, we got stretch.
Yeah, you got the stretch.
And a super soft rod, you know. You don't have any moving power.
You need a starter rod, especially when you're fishing deeper. Now the shallow fish are a little easier to hook on a smaller bait, but also too, they're going to come up and throw the bait.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You a soft tip rod is not going to get you what you're looking for. You got to have a pretty stout rod, and I finally got dialed into that. That was the next thing. And then, of course, the next bait was out was the Cascade lure. I think I got them hanging out on the patio out in the back. Yeah.
I mean, gosh, I get this box here.
That shows you how confident I was into this color. Because you still see, I still got these hanging around. And then it was the Optimum. And this is the small version.
Right.
I'll show you the next version I went to, because this Optimum was better for the smaller fish.
Okay.
5 to 7 pounders. But the fish 8 and over, they wanted the bigger bait. And I'll show you how I got those trapped. Those baits was really good. You know. All right, thank you. But Optimum is good. It's good for bass, stripers, you know. But this here was a real good bait to fish during that time also.
Yeah, it was, you know, I was probably 11 or 12 when I remember seeing these dinosaurs at Turner's. And then the Optimums came out.
Yeah,
and
Optimum
they
was
were the first
one.
internal style lead head soft plastic, I believe.
Yeah, it was good bait. You can sink it, fish it any depth. And if you got confidence to do that, because you're going to get hung up.
Oh yeah,
you know?
it's part of it.
And the thing about it, and you know as well as I do, that's where the big fish is going to be at. They like structure, deep structure. You know, they come up, and you know when they come up, they're coming up to feed. But if you're looking for them during the day, you want to get down to that structure, 25, maybe even 35 feet, you sink that bait, and then you just want to roll it over the top of them. So I took that chance, and thousands of dollars later, of course.
That's part of paying dues, right?
Yeah, it's going to cost you.
Yeah.
And that's time on the water, and it's going to cost you a few bucks with these baits. And one thing about it, it does have a good hook on it still.
Nice.
Yeah, and even when you catch fish and get hung up, you still got to take a foul and hit it just like these.
Okay.
And every time you catch a
tip.
fish on here, you always hit it with a foul before you start fishing it, because it tips gets dull real easy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
do you remember the very first fish you caught on that bait? Or has there been just so many it all kind of...
I can tell you it was...
or the first one that sticks out to you in your mind where you're like, man, this is the deal. Like,
well, I could tell you the biggest one was on President's Day.
Okay.
February, I think it was 93, because we had that particular day off. And that was my first big fish over 12 pounds.
Wow.
It was a 14-pounder, 14-1. And then I... spend the night up at Capri Inn.
Okay.
Because in fact, I'll show you that picture too. There's a story behind that. The friend that turned me on to Casitas Lake, Greg, he called me, wanted to know if I was going to fish for a couple of days. And I said, yeah, you know. And I said, but I'm up here already, and I'm with Barbara, and we're going to spend the night Capri Inn. We're going to get back up fish the next day. So he shows up, and he shows up with a friend, Kelly Popo.
No kidding.
Kelly Popo. So they fishing around, and I'm throwing, and our commitment, and he was the one that was supposed to commit with me that day to throw nothing but Worm Kings for the 2 days.
Oh, wow.
And I
what a trip.
It was President's Day, and then they was on the lake. I never knew it till around 1 o'clock.
Okay.
Around 11:30, the wind came up, and then this one place I just liked a lot. I call it the creek bed in front of the island. I went back there and I started working up to it. And then when I got up to it, finally I got thumped. And I was like, man, this feels like a real good fish. And of course I had a lighter rod. And
so you're still fishing that lighter rod at the time?
Lighter rod. And sure enough, I got it to the boat, and Barbara was able to slide the net under. As soon as she slid the net under, the bait flew right out. 14-1. I'm like, this
meant
is
to
it.
be.
So got that in the live well and getting ready to take it up to Randy to go show him what was going on. And
it was Randy King, right?
Randy King at the
that
time.
Ran the concession stand up there. Okay.
Yeah, because I have been fishing before, because we, like I said, Greg had turned us on to it. I started in the summer, and I would take weeks off and fish crawdads in summertime. And I was getting fish to 11 pounds, but not to what I wanted to get. I was trying to get that real high 10.
Absolutely.
But we caught fish in the summer on, I say, 5 to 11 pounds in the summer, and then January, when I had time off through April, that's when I started throwing the big baits. And back to the story, Greg was supposed to throw the big bait with me, and he didn't call me soon enough, and Barbara and I went on. So I got that 14 that day, and then around, I'd say 1:30, local Harry Casey comes by, and like, if you get one, I said, yeah, I'm getting ready to take him up, and he showed, he said, you know your buddy is here? I said, no, he didn't show. He said, oh yeah, he's here, and he's back, there he goes. And Kelly was driving the
you see Kelly's wind blowing in,
yeah, the hair blowing
in the wind.
They both had the same thing. They both hair was stuck out going, and I'm like, oh, I'll never catch him. I got a 115 outboard, and he's got a 200. He said, well, you just have to cut him off, and sure enough, I did that.
Okay.
And they go, you get one? I said, yeah, I did. And he said, any good? I said, pulls him out, and you can see it.
Oh.
Yeah, it's gone. And that day, I said, that's it. That was my swim bait story. And
that was kind of the epiphany moment there,
yeah,
huh?
Yeah. That changed it all. And I'm like, well, now you got the confidence. It's a matter of keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we took pictures, of course, and went on. So I came back out the next day. Now I'm confident I'll get fish.
And that was on that Worm King?
On the Worm King.
On the 12-inch, huh?
And I got got the Worm King, so I started again the next day.
Wow.
We had breakfast, got out there, and my bites didn't come until the wind came up.
Okay.
When the wind started blowing.
That was a lesson that you taught me pretty early on, was to focus when that wind picked up.
When the wind picks up. It seemed like it moves the bait. It's also light penetration is not the same.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed to, in fact, a lot of the guides, Doc, you just getting here? 10:30, 11 o'clock. But by the time I leave, I done got a couple of fish.
That's right.
You know? But I think the wind, I know the wind had a lot to do with it.
Absolutely.
Because the next day, it was the same thing. Right around, say, 11:30, almost noon, I got one in the morning. It was 11, just under 12 pounds.
Wow.
And then came back out, 2 o'clock, 2:30, I got one just under 14. And this was the very next day, and you'll see, but I got those too.
Oh my
Worm
goodness.
Kings. And Greg done the same thing, and he left. And when we talked the day after the trip was over with, and I told him about the 13, he said, no, bro, it was the 14-1. I said, that was the one the day before. And he got quiet. He said, well, what do you mean? I said, I got 2 more. He said, no way. I said, yeah. Just under 14, 13,
wow.
10, and the other one was 11, 10. They was just under.
That's mind-blowing.
But they was all on the big bait.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, from
where were the other guys fishing at the time? Worming?
No, they was throwing spinner baits.
Really? Okay.
Spinner baits, yeah.
Well, that is a fun lake to throw a spinner bait
on.
Oh,
it was.
Yeah.
He was getting fish, but the thing is, what I found out, February at that time was trophy fish time.
Yeah.
And big baits, one bite is what you're looking for.
Yeah.
You know, and they the one told me about it.
Right.
Kelly and Greg, but they chose to do something else because they wanted to get bit.
Yeah, because I know Kelly was big time tournament fishing back then, right? So it's hard to break out of that mentality.
I had just met him. I didn't know.
Oh wow, okay.
And they was telling me about his tournament fishing and stuff, and he was telling me, if you want to get a big fish, this is what you do. But it's a hard commitment, and if you want to commit on it, I said, well, I will try it. You know, and it changed my fishing. You know, I had caught a big fish before down in Vail Lake before we went private at Butterfield Country. I was a worm fisherman. I was using, my favorite worm was motor all color, the 6-inch worm with the blue flake.
Okay.
We fished that worm till
Texas rig.
Texas rig. I came from Louisiana.
Gotcha.
That's all I know was Texas rig. So I brought that to California after I got out of the Navy, and it was a tough bite trying to fish from the bayous and runoffs in Louisiana.
Oh, it's a total different game.
Oh, here, these reservoirs are so clear, and the water, then the sand, I'm like, no structure.
Right.
I was like the desert, so how am I do it? So it took me a while to figure it out. You know, I started at Paris. I moved from Paris and went to Vail, because Vail was private. It looked more like what it looks like in Louisiana.
Oh, gotcha. Bunch of flooded timber.
Flooded timber. And as soon as you come in, it had the perfect names. Bayou, Bay.
Oh, okay. So you felt at home.
I was like, oh, this is what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And it was a small impoundment, but it did have good bass fishing in it. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. And then finally it went private with that Butterfield Country deal. So that eliminated that. And Barbara got a 10-pounder on it too, on the same bait, on that motor rod colored worm. So we moved back to Paris, and then I jumped around, you know, Silverwood, Paris, and then went to Casitas, and that was home. You know, Casitas was the leg. And I tried the Worm King. That's what I got most of the big fish on. Then it went to the Castaic lure. I got less than 5 fish on that.
Oh, really? You talking about the hard head,
hard
soft
head.
body?
No, this
or
was
the full soft
the full
plastic?
hard body one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's your original wood carved
The
one.
wood carved one, yeah. But the thing about it, it's a great bait, and we had us a couple, and I'll show you what happened to it. The bait got waterlogged,
Oh, right.
so it didn't float anymore.
So it
And
sink.
so we wanted to go again. The bait, after fishing it about a half hour to an hour, the bait started sinking. So we thought, okay, we in trouble. We didn't realize that it made the bait better, because it looked like a big swim bait, and it started going slow, real slow, like a big, and it started diving. That was one of the best things that could have happened to us. We nicknamed it Lazy. You know?
All right.
And I tell you what, you start rolling it, and it even worked better with braid, because the braid would let it sink, and then you could start feeling stuff is hitting, and you just stop it until you feel a bite, and it will sink down to 8 to 10 feet. And I tell you what, it got us more bites that way than it did just right on top.
Yeah, because, I mean, back then there weren't any like subsurface hard baits.
No.
They were all floaters.
This was floater too.
You're right.
Yeah, they was all floater, and then it got a crack, or I'll show you what happened. It's got all the nicks or what happened.
Yeah, it doesn't take much, and it
then
starts
all
to
of a sudden,
swell.
as soon as it got waterlogged, the bait disappeared. It started to sink, and as soon as you start cranking it, the lip start getting it down. That was a key to getting a lot of bites on it. We caught one day, got 4 11-pounders on that bait.
My goodness.
4. I'll show you those pictures.
Oh.
Yeah, that was really good fishing with that. And then, of course, then that changed to the Optimum, came out, and Optimum was also, too, a good bait. But one thing about the Optimum, it was a lot of rubber on the big, I'll show you.
Big 10-inch, right?
Yeah. But it was a great bait.